Okay, welcome back everybody, and great to have you all joining us for the second day of this this weekend. So today we're going to be focusing this morning on the topic of new homes. So as we looked at existing homes yesterday afternoon, this morning we're going to be focusing around new homes, and we're going to be looking particularly at the second question relating to homes. So how should Scotland change how it builds new homes to tackle the climate emergency in an effective and fair way? So this morning we'll be focusing around that. This afternoon then we turn our attention to recommendations, and we'll be looking at the process for developing recommendations over the next few weekends, and then we'll also be starting the process of developing those recommendations and thinking about where we want to kind of focus recommendations to help to tackle the challenges relating to homes. So there's a lot to get through today. This morning we'll work very similar to yesterday afternoon. So you'll have the opportunity to hear kind of one presentation to begin with, to give you a bit of the background and some things to think about, and you'll have a group discussion after that, before you then hear a series of presentations, and there'll be a bit more time for discussion again towards the end of the morning. So that's what we're up to. Just a reminder that there will be a fair amount more information again this morning, so please do have kind of pen and paper, and because however you're taking notes to hand, to be able to kind of note down questions. We'll have kind of speakers with us again who will be able to join your groups if you want to pick a bit more into what they're saying. So hopefully we have, we've got Daisy with us again. So Daisy, it's going to be over to you to kind of introduce our first presentation for today.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a restful evening yesterday after quite a lot of information came your way. I know that my mind was buzzing all evening, thinking about everything that I'd heard, and I'm not an expert myself on energy, so there was so much that I learned as well, and it's brilliant to keep processing that, and I hope this morning continues to be the same, and we continue to learn more about new build this time. Yesterday we heard from Professor McElroy from University of Strathclyde. Laurie, thank you so much again for coming today. Today she's going to speak about new build and give us some information about setting that in context, to give us to set the scene for the rest of the discussion this morning. So Laurie, over to you.
So, thank you to Laurie for that presentation. Lots to think about there, about some of the key issues and kind of challenges facing new homes and tackling the climate emergency. So it's now time to have those group discussions. So we'll break you out into your small groups again. We'll have Laurie and Daisy on standby as well for questions if you want to put anything to them, and we'll send them to your group. But we will have about 30 minutes now for a group conversation. So welcome back, everybody. We're going to now move to hearing some more presentations. So as we did yesterday, we've got 4 presentations lined up for you. So as with yesterday, you'll have the rainbow kind of note-taking sheet to use for these next presentations. So just as you're hearing the different ideas and proposals in each of the different videos that we'll show, think about what level they fall at on that rainbow kind of diagram, and fill it in, and then you'll be using that later in the group discussion again. So now I'll hand over to Daisy to introduce the first of the presentations.
Thank you very much, Tim, and thanks everyone. I think there's been so much discussion. I can sense that already with the way experts were being called into different rooms. So sounds like a really fantastic start to the conversations around this topic. Just to say before I introduce the next speakers, there have been a couple of questions that have come up from yesterday and this morning around affordability and around justice and equity around homes and home building and retrofit. And hopefully some of the videos that you see coming up will start to address that. And we pick this up again in the conversations after that and in the weekend coming up. So I just wanted to mention that before we move forward. The first speaker we have, and again, I want to say thank you to our speakers who are here and for those who provided their videos in advance. First up, we have Hugh and Lloyd from Active Building Center. He's got his colleague here with Simon McWhorter with him as well. We're going to talk about active buildings, sometimes called as energy positive buildings, which generate energy to use in the building and potentially to fuel electric vehicles as well. So I'll hand over to yourself. Thank you, Hugh. That was really interesting, especially digging a little bit into the principles of active buildings. I think will be something that we can start to look at over the next weekend and going forward as well. Thank you for that. Our next presentation is from Artisan Real Estate, Clive Wilding, a commercial house builder that produces high-density urban homes with an emphasis on sustainability. Tim? Presentations we've just seen are starting to look at homes not just in the context of home and energy within the fabric, but how it starts to look at a place-based approach of travel and what does EV mean for cars and buildings and less first and outside space. I thought this would be a good time, like yesterday, to pause for a couple of minutes and then take some notes and just have a reflection on what we've heard so far. Excellent, thank you. I hope that's been a good kind of pause to reflect on what you've heard so far. Coming up next are two quick videos. The first one of which is we're going to play from YouTube. The first one is Goldsmith Street in Norwich, designed by Mikhail Riches with Kathy Howley for Norwich Council. It has almost 100 ultra-low energy, so-called passive flats and houses that are occupied by council tenants. Although it's high-density council housing, the standard of architecture is exceptionally high, and it won the 2019 Sterling Prize, which is the main architecture award in the UK. I don't know if everyone was able to see the last part of it. I think the video kind of stumbled my end, but I'm sure it's good. The links are going to be shared with everybody, just in case there was an issue with what we're seeing. We'll take a minute to pause there to see. For me, I just love the idea of that social connections that can be created through good design. And I think there's lots to reflect on how we can make that happen going forward in Scotland. Thank you. The next video we're going to watch is Marmalade Lane, which is in Cambridge, designed by Mole Architects. It's a co-housing scheme of 42 properties. And in this case, ownership is private, although some homes are occupied by tenants and lodgers. Co-housing means people have their own private home, but also have shared spaces and facilities that encourage a more social way of life. Co-housing is not living in a commune, as some people think. Personal space is still private, but there are shared areas. In the case of Marmalade Lane, the common house is enough space for all residents to meet and eat together. There's a communal kitchen, there's spaces for classes, areas for children. There's a laundry and additional guest bedrooms that can be used by everyone. Again, a really interesting case study to start to inspire different ways of thinking and different ways of how we can start to look at what housing could look like in the future. Thank you. Again, just a quick example of the kind of difference good, well-planned, high-quality housing can make to a person's life, person's well-being. We'll pause here again for a minute or so just to take down our thoughts and reflect. Excellent, thank you. Our final presentation for this morning is from Sandy Halliday from Gaia Group. Gaia Group is an architecture practice that emphasizes sustainable design, focuses on things like insulation rather than what is called eco-bling. And I'll let Sandy speak for that in the video. Thank you, Sandy. I think what a fantastic line to end on. To fail now is to fail forever. We really have to come together and make sure that the future that we plan for post-COVID, the green recovery, all that we're doing now is fair, it's equitable. I think for me, what's come through from all four presentations is the fact that, you know, the idea of a socioeconomic hub, the fact that transport, planning, social justice, economic development, the places for retail, for art, for theater, play, is all part of the conversation around housing and communities. It can't just be discussed as one sector. And I hope there's a lot to think about that you've had from these four presentations as well. Let's pause again for a minute. Let's reflect on what we've had, and then I'll hand over to Tim to take us through the next steps.
Great, thank you to our presenters for those fantastic videos, and thanks to Daisy for introducing them. So you've heard there lots of different proposals for what could be done for the new housing stock in Scotland, and it's now time to discuss those in your breakout groups. The speakers are available to ask questions of, so the facilitators will be able to call them to your group if you want to ask them about anything. But now I'll hand over to the production team to move you into the breakout rooms.